Alright there. For anyone who's confused, this is not Mafia 3 Definitive Edition. This Rogue Trader. Apparently I forgot to switch the ad over. Anyway. Get it together, Yorkie. Welcome to Yorkie's Nightcap. We end the day with a bit of a drink of some kind. Just a bit of bubbly water for me. And more relaxed style of play game. In this case, the Outcat CRPG Rogue Trader. Well, we've been to the prison planet, but we still need to crew up. And we're having to recruit from a rival's star system. Let's see what happens, shall we? What do we have here? Bridge Technocrat, don't care. Servitor? You got to say for yourself anything? Nothing. Alright, Adira. The tall, middle-aged woman stares straight ahead. Her eyes vacant as she rubs the implant at the temple. The collar isn't done, and one of the clasps is on the verge of falling off. Sensing your presence, Adira turns her head toward you, and offers you a crooked smile, even as her eyes look right through you. We just changed something here. Adira, about your abilities.
What are you talking about, Lord Captain?
With noticeable effort, Adira focuses her eyes on you. Flat sound a nervous laugh. You are a Psyker. Psykers are only granted the right to live with the Emperor's blessing. Have you ever been to Terra?
Look, Lady Theodora couldn't care less if some eggheads measured my brains or not. It's not about the seal on your forehead, get it? It's about what's in your gut, if it's rotten or not. My gut's stronger than the adamantine on this here ship. And my implants are better than the ones they put in you on your Terra. If they weren't, I wouldn't have lived as long as I have.
Adira says nothing for a few seconds and exaggeratedly rolls her eyes. Adira bares her teeth in a savage grin, a febrile gleam in her eyes. Seems to have a very strong reaction to what Argenta said by the broken lens.
It was just my nerves playing up. Something about our little saint doesn't sit right with me, and I trust my gut. Oh sure, she seems straight as an arrow and as predictable as a hangover after drinking. But when I look at her, something about her makes my brain itch.
Adira snorts but then frowns and continues more seriously.
After that conversation, I tried to listen to what was being said about her. Beyond the door, what I heard was strange. Blood in her past, twilight in her present, and something like a star leading her. But where is it leading her? I saw several roads, and all of them frightened me.
What does it all mean?
If I knew, I would have told you. Hearing things clearly requires cooperation from the other person, you know. But that cobra just hisses and spits its venom at me. I don't trust her one bit.
Maybe we should warn Argenta?
Oh yeah. You go ahead and tell her the wicked Psyker has divined something about her. She'll be so pleased and grateful, and of course she'll listen to what you have to say. No, that would be pointless.
You're not wrong.
And anyway, I'm not even sure what it all means. Maybe the danger is to her? Or maybe the danger's coming from her.
Also a good point. But yeah, she's definitely a true believer. I get you. Awareness says Adira's voice is full of animosity, but you also detect concern. Even a hint of pity and compassion. Where do you come from?
Lyra, an outlying world in the Heathen Stars region. In the Coronis expanse, the deeper you go, the less visible the Astronomicon gets, and the less people know about the Imperium. The arrival of a rogue trader is the best thing that can happen to a world like that. The very best.
The psychic beacon that helps navigators to triangulate a course for their void ships through the... Okay. Tell me about Lyra.
It's an out-of-the-way planetoid between two faint stars. On Lyra, a dozen local tyrants fight over 5 measly continents. But they use everything they can to win, from poison to psychers. I haven't been there in many years, but there's nothing for me to miss. Trust me.
Idira begins wringing her shaking hands.
But here on the ship is a different story altogether. I saw more wonders in my first year serving Lady von Valancius than I'd seen in my whole life on Lyra. Like my first journey through the warp, I was in bed for 3 days. I felt like supernovas were exploding in my head. I only found out later that I'd gotten off easy. Just through the bulkhead in the bay next to mine, a whole team turned into... Look at me rambling on, Lord Captain. Pay no attention.
Idira breaks off. You know you never finished that story about your first time crossing the warp.
It wasn't like it was a very fun trip, Lord Captain. But look, if you want to be entertained, I'm the woman for the job. I'll entertain you with one of the stories from my collection, no problem. But if you want to hear about the time I melted everyone in the bay next door...
Impressive.
Well, I just don't really want to go into the details on that one, all right?
Impressive. Idira rubs her nose. What did you do before you came to be on the ship?
Oh, I embroidered wall hangings in honor of our national heroes. I did the same thing I do here, Lord Captain. Divining. Our rulers prized the ability to see into the future. Every psyker that could be found was worth a small fortune on Lyra. There's no such thing as a peaceful life on Lyra. People like me were especially sought after. They'd pick psychers up wherever they found them, buy kids off their parents, even just abduct them. Take me, for instance. I got taken from my street gang. The older kids sold me when they noticed there was something off about me.
Yeah,
the ruling dynasties had schools where they trained us and beat us black and blue. And then they packed us off to serve. Some of us held on for a long time, but others didn't last. Not everyone's as smart and talented as me, you know. Some people crossed the line and were out of commission before their time.
Idira looks at you expectantly, then, as though clarifying, she uses her hands to indicate a head exploding and laughs. How did you end up in the Rogue Traders service?
Theodora von Valancius paid a visit to the ruler I was serving at the time. I don't know what the visit was for, and it's no business of mine anyway. I can still remember the way the voices in my head changed when I looked at her. They were practically screaming. She had so much behind her, and plenty ahead of her too.
Idira squints as though she's peering at something far away.
As I gawped at her, all of a sudden I heard a whisper. A hint, a suggestion, nothing more. But I know the difference between idle chatter and a real threat. I seized my chance and approached Theodora. I managed to whisper a couple of words in her ear before the wardens dragged me away. They beat me and locked me up. No wonder. It wasn't my place to converse with outsiders. And then Theodora's people came for me. They broke down the wall, butchered the guards. Also, I could tell them my warning in full. So I said the rest, but I didn't want to go back to my old life. And so I entered the service of the von Valancius dynasty.
Fair enough. Aside from our recent trip to the prison planet, have you ever been off the ship?
A few times. Not many. And if I think about it, why would I want to? I've got everything I need here. All the whispers I hear are familiar ones. They almost feel like family. And if I want to hear about the nightmares off the ship, I can, after some Amisec. But don't go getting the wrong idea. If I have to, I'll follow you to the edge of the galaxy.
Idira winces and rubs her eyes. What is Amasec? A potent alcoholic drink of varying quality, widely available across the Imperium. Right, let's talk about something else.
Of course, Lord Captain.
What's it like being a psyker?
Lord Captain, forgive me, but it would be like talking to a person born blind about colors. I could spend hours explaining, but it wouldn't make any sense to you.
Hidera tilts her head to one side as though listening closely to something.
Every psyker feels their connection with the warp in their own way. One person might see spots and shadows out of the corner of their eye. Another feels fingers running down their spine. As for me, I've got a door in my head. One that's open just a crack. There's no way to close it, no matter how hard I try. I've just had to get used to the whispers from the other side. When I need to use it for work, I listen in more closely. But I usually just try not to notice it.
Interesting. Interesting use of the phrase from the other side as well. In our current time in the West, it refers to, for instance, from people who are dead. Here, from the void. But also with her metaphor or her way of seeing from the other side of the door. It's a cool tri-meaning, triple meaning. How do you live with this whispering in your head?
Training, habit, and a little amasec and a couple other things you can get on the lower decks. If you put all those together, it makes things bearable. Sometimes I even wonder if I'm imagining half the voices I hear. You know, when life on board gets a little boring. Better than listening to the living, anyhow.
No comment. Hidera shrugs and chuckles. What would happen if the door burst open?
Well, if the door opens, that means somebody's planning to come in, right? But screw them. They're not coming through. Trust me. I know how to keep my valuable head locked up tight.
Hidera chuckles, but there's a shrill, strained quality to her laughter. Yeah, she's afraid of something from the other side. Aren't you afraid of losing control?
Only losers who are afraid of their own gift lose control. Or idiots who never figure out what they are before it's too late. Or little kids who want to play around with their shiny new toy. If you don't know the limits of your abilities, or you're always bouncing around in your own head, that's a recipe for disaster.
Don't like getting out of your head on alcohol, huh? Can you see my future?
All right. That's what I'm here for, after all. So, I'm just going to lean on that door in my head a little more, prick up my ears, and listen to what the warp's got to say about you. If you'll allow it, I can listen right now.
Hidera wrinkles her nose and looks around. Then she wipes her hands, giving her head a shake and finally nods. She grins like she's already heard some salacious detail. Sure.
All right. Let's hear what they're whispering about you.
Hidera laughs, rubs her hands together and suddenly freezes with a vacant smile on her face, her head slightly tilted. You feel goosebumps appear on your skin and your collar begins to waver ever so slightly, as if moved by a breeze from a half-open door.
Seek not on firm ground, but in a golden hall suspended in the void. There waits a child without kin, but with a name blind to truth. She draws the brush across the canvas and does not notice that her palette is full not of paint, but of blood. And with each smear, this well does not deplete, but fills and fills up to the brim. One thing is clear. When this vessel overflows, none will remain unstained. Among the blind men and false prophets, a red-robed sage seeks the answer to a question. He does not know that it is not the answer he must seek, but the question that will draw everything into focus. Will you help him, rogue trader? But mark that sometimes ignorance is sweeter than oblivion. A chained hound chases after glimmers of the aurora, but sparks in the scent of oil confound his nose. A chain trails after him. What will happen if you pick it up? Will you become his mistress? Or merely another beast in the pack of his true lord? Dungeon walls cannot contain the dark essence wallowing in the dust. A naive cub pushes his nose into a familiar hand, one that holds death in twisted glass. Cherish it or cast it off as a burden. The sword of change has already been raised. What is one more life to it? I'm sorry, Lord Captain. The voices are going wild. I can't make out a thing. I'll try to rein them in, somehow. But for now...
Idira strains to listen, then frowns and shakes her head. The Psycho shrugs sheepishly and sniffs. No need to be sheepish. You saw a lot. It's just too chaotic for now. Got a new story for me, Idira?
You bet I do, Lord Captain.
Idira becomes much more animated and her expression turns slightly dreamy as she recalls one of her stories.
Okay, so we went to Footfall once. Well, I mean, Lord Captain Theodora went to Footfall a lot. But on that occasion, she took me with her for some reason. My day had gotten off to a bad start. My head had been yammering since I woke up, but there was nothing else for it. I had to go. We arrive at the place, and what a place! All the gentlemen and ladies dressed to kill, showing off their encrusted implants, all clustered around little tables. Well, turned out it was a gaming den. And not just any gaming den, but one run by somebody with deep pockets for people with just as much cash to splash. You should have seen it. People gambling away planets in a game of regicide. Anyway, so the Lord Captain wanted me to help her beat some guy. So I tell her, the chips won't land in your favor. You'll get a bad hand. Don't sit down at that table, your ladyship. But did she listen? Of course she didn't. If there's one thing she never lacked, it's stubbornness.
A human tabletop game is regicide played across the Imperium of Man. Similar to an ancient Terran game of chess. Makes sense.
So they sat down and the cards were dealt. I'm hovering around like I'm not involved, but I'm keeping my eye on things. And everything in my head keeps getting louder and louder. Anyway, it's a good thing I realized in time that my mind wasn't going haywire over a losing hand, but something else. I made some excuse to drag the Lord Captain up from the table and took her away from that place. And a few minutes later, the room where we'd been... It turned out some wise guy had the same bright idea to bring a pet psyker along with him. One of those ones who just scuttle around in Footfall's underbelly. And the psyker just freaked out, I guess. After all the commotion, people went to see what happened in the room. And they'd all gone for each other's throats.
Wow.
Literally. With
wow.
teeth. And I think they completely detached that asteroid from Footfall and pushed it off into open space.
Yeah, I can see that.
Local star.
Yeah, interesting storyline there. I'd like to hear your argument, Idira. What awaits me in the future?
All right, let's hear.
Oh, we've seen this.
I'm sorry, Lord Captain.
Right.
The voices are going wild.
Did you know Theodora?
Thing. I'll try to rein them in somehow, but for now.
Did you know Theodora von Valencius well?
None of the officers knew the Lord Captain well. Not even Abelard, and she was always closer to him than anyone else. She told me from the off that if I ever listened to anything in the warp about her without her permission, I'd be going out through the airlock. I'm not an idiot, so I never stuck my nose where it didn't belong. Only when I was asked. It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that she's gone. Lady von Valancius gave me everything I have. She opened the stars to me and the paths between them. I still think I can hear her voice.
Idira's eyes darken and a strange otherworldly expression comes over her face. Idira lets out a sharp breath and shakes her head. Things are strained between you and Argenta, I see.
The little sister is afflicted with her own set of voices. Ones that whisper to her about corruption and heresy. The silly girl doesn't realize that if she wants to find the source, she needs to start by looking in her own head.
It did fall silent, then in a different voice. I must take my leave.
Of course. Always at your service. Whenever you need me.
Okay. And our other colleague. Wasn't she down here somewhere? There she is.
Greetings.
Even in stillness, Sister Argenta radiates energy. With her dark eyes shining and a slight blush to her cheeks, she is reciting a prayer and looks at you only once she has spoken the final line. Tell me about Adeptus Sororitas.
Gladly. There are none more faithful to the God Emperor than my sisters. We fight against his enemies by the will of the Holy Ecclesiarchy. I beg your pardon, rogue trader. Here I am talking about what every lesser noble in the Imperium knows. So what exactly are you interested in hearing about?
And she interrupts herself and snorts. They say the Adeptus Sororitas are the fiercest in their faith among the warriors of the Imperium. Is it true?
It is. The Sisters of Battle are a fire lit by the God Emperor. They are the echo of his voice that travels through the dark expanses of the universe. We bring his wrath to heretics, mutants, and other enemies of humanity. We protect the faithful from the unholy and unhallowed. Sometimes with words, more often than not with a bolter.
See, sister, the devout warriors who serve with militant arm of the Adeptus Ministorum. Are all sisters truly as faultless as you say?
Even the novices of the Adeptus Sororitas are drawn from among the most worthy.
Oh, great. Really a true
Those who
believer.
have taken the vows and become a full-fledged sister are the best of the best, tested by trials of body and spirit. Yes, there have been cases when a sister stumbled or showed weakness, but do not expect to hear a story of depravity or downfall from me. Each such occurrence is a great tragedy for us all. Light cannot bear the smallest speck of darkness within. And thus those who have trespassed or shown weakness of spirit are given a chance at redemption. They are called Sisters Repentia, and may the enemy tremble before her, for nothing can stop a sister of battle who yearns to be cleansed of faults and weakness. Wearing nothing but robes, no armor, eviscerator in hand, those sisters who have once faltered find repentance on the battlefield. Their lives are seldom long, but a death in the name of purgation is a better fate than to live with a shadow in one's soul.
What order are you from? Might as well
Once
get
I had
information.
completed my novitiate, I was sent to the Calixian branch of the Order of Our Martyred Lady, assigned to the Orders Pronatus. The Order's mission is vital and noble. The Sisters Pronatus protect great relics of the Imperium. We guard them, preserve them, escort them when they are brought onto the battlefield or presented for pilgrims to venerate. And we seek out the relics that have been lost. Neither a coven of heretics nor the most wicked death world can deter Sisters Pronatus when their goal is to return a piece of the great legacy of the Imperium into the hands of the faithful.
The Order Pronatus is not one of the Order's militant. And yet you are a trained fighter.
Don't let the name deceive you. The Order's militant trains sisters to march onto the battlefield as an army. That does not make sisters who belong to the non-militant orders timid and helpless. Both the solace-bringing Sisters Hospitaller and the enlightened Sisters Dialogus know how to greet enemies of humanity. Their dialogue with heretics is usually quite short, with the last word being a bolter discharge. And my order has all the more reason to be known for the martial prowess of its sisters. We are the keepers of the Imperium's relics. What would become of our blessed hero's legacy if the sisters Pronatus could not protect it?
You said it belonged to the Calixian branch of your order. What brought you here to Coronos Expanse?
The order sent me to Footfall. My undertaking was to assist the local priesthood of Drusians in caring for a sacred reliquary that had been there since the time of Parson Mr. Wayne, the station's founder.
Followers of the cult of St. Drusus, a legendary hero of the Angavian Crusade, who founded the Calixis sector into the Imperium of Man. Are there any other members of the Adeptus Sororitas in the Coronos Expanse?
None that I'm aware of, but the Sisterhood's orders are many, and can operate independently of one another, sending their sisters wherever their presence is needed as deemed by the Ecclesiarchy. Perhaps somewhere in the Lord Inquisitor's retinue, may his path be blessed, my sisters perform their duty as we speak. I wish it were so. Even a single evening spent in joint prayer and training would bring me joy.
I have no more questions about the Sisterhood.
Should any more arise, keeping them to yourself would be imprudent. It is a virtue to take an interest in holiness.
Given my feelings about her, I really need to know more about her, so tell me about yourself.
About me? I am the Emperor's daughter and his servant. What else is there to tell about me?
I'm assuming Emperor's daughter is a metaphor. How did you end up in Theodora's ship?
I first came here when I found myself in need of passage from Footfall to a remote planet. But I imagine what interests you is not that first journey, but rather what brought me aboard prior to the pirate attack. That story is complicated. It just so happened that
She stopped short.
I made a mistake. In a moment of laxity, I was ambushed by the accursed followers of the archenemy. I was badly wounded. Lady Theodora came to my aid and brought me aboard her ship, while her crew attended to me in my weakened state. It all happened not too long ago. I'd barely recovered from my wounds when the pirates struck. Truly, the servants of evil know no rest. There is no place where we can be safe from their machinations.
Let's have a look. The archenemy. A malign metaphysical force composed of psychic energy that exists in an alternate dimension known as the Warp. Okay. What happened to the people who wounded you? Did Theodora's men eliminate them?
Sadly, they did not. Lady Theodora was in a hurry and chose not to stay on the planet. Her people took me to a ship while I was unconscious, and when I came to my senses, we were already flying away. How I pray to come face to face with those heretics once more, and it's bound to happen someday.
You mentioned making a mistake.
It happens even to the best of us.
I didn't say it didn't.
My mistakes are my burden to bear. I'll find a way to atone for them.
Argenta says heatedly, then she frowns and lowers her head for a moment. Where did this happen?
On one of the recently discovered planets in the Expanse. No one suspected that it had already been tainted by the filth of heresy. Had I known it beforehand, of course I would have been on my guard.
We could go to that planet and deal with the Chaos Worshippers. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to.
The path to that planet was lost. All the knowledge is gone, along with the previous navigator. It would take immense effort and resources to rediscover the route. The heir to the von Valanci's protectorate must have plenty of other issues to deal with right now. Perhaps later, when the skies above our heads have cleared.
Argenta's eyes glint. She hesitates, but then shakes her head with a sigh. What was it like travelling on Theodora's ship?
I hadn't been here that long. Just one journey from Footfall, and the other journey, the majority of which I spent in the confines of the Medbay. I can't tell you much about the first voyage. I was more focused on prayers and ruminations than on the people around me, or the journey itself. During the last journey, Seneschal Viserion stood out for me. He came by several times to ask about my health. He's an honorable man and a loyal servant of the Imperium. I think he is as meticulous in his inspections of the logistic systems as he is in his inquiries about the health of the occasional sister of battle aboard the ship. But not all of Theodora's people have earned my trust. You know who I'm talking about. There is no place for Adira Tlas among the God Emperor's faithful. I'm surprised she wasn't in league with the pirates. And I'm equally surprised by how deep heresy and treason run in this place. I'm glad we all made it through that dark hour. May the day that follows be bright.
Don't have any more questions for you.
As you wish.
What is it that's keeping you in my retinue?
This ship was targeted by heretical pirates, which means that my presence here and the assistance I provide to you are my sacred duty. Sooner or later, I will likely have to return to Footfall to protect its reliquary. But for now, I wish to remain a part of the Rogue Trader's crew.
See, please meet over servant of the Golden Throne in my crew. May the enemies of the Imperium tremble before our onslaught. I enjoy your company, Argenta. I hope you remain in the crew and that this ship becomes your home. You might be of use to me, so I have no problem with your presence. I see no place for you on my ship. We'll take you to Football and that will be all. Here's my view of the different... my view as Angelina Reed von Valentius. Of the different 3 companions I have so far. The Seneschal. Good warrior. Stern, straightforward. I like him on side. Good gun. Oh, good sword to have in front of you as you have the gun at his back. Well, the gun over his shoulder. Adira. Psyker. Has abilities I don't have. Valuable. A little bit wary of where things could go wrong with her, but very valuable. I like her dark humor. I like her sarcasm. She's my favorite. Argenta. She's a true believer and a devout follower of the God Emperor, who I feel no allegiance to. None at all. I do not like, especially having essentially been kidnapped by the Rogue Trader whose heir I was. Having her around doesn't feel good. That said, she is a good combatant, very good. I can see that. And that being the case, it might be important to have her with us. So I'm between 3 and 4. I think for now I have to say 3. And I may get rid of her in time. You might be of use to me, and so I have no problem with your presence. Argent gives you a stern look but says nothing, only nodding impassively. Thank you for the conversation. Until next time. I don't enjoy, as depending on the character I was playing, but as Angelina Reed, I do not enjoy her presence. I do not want her presence. And I may get rid of her in time, but for now she could be useful. We've done Ricard. New Bloods, the crew losses suffered. Ricard Morales. Machine Spirit. The Void ship requires new engine seer. Found somewhere. The Void ship needs a new navigator. One we found in Navis Nobilite Station. And defective servitors. The unusual behavior of... Yes. Yes, I want to deal with that. Ready to look at the malfunctioning servitors. As you wish, your ladyship. Sector data unavailable. Region data unavailable. Location Von Valencia's flagship, lower decks. Material. Report of tech phenomenon that was observed during Lord Captain's visit to Bay AKN 108 from the words of High Factotum General Stanrock. When her ladyship arrived on the scene, she found the servitors in the same position they had assumed after they had been corralled into Bay, all standing in a long spiralling line facing the centre of their strange formation. The moment her ladyship crossed the threshold of the Bay gate, their bodies jerked into motion. All as one, as if obeying a command, the servitors turned to face Lord Captain. The technomats, tasked with overseeing the defective units, even reached for their weapons, but then the servitors went still just as abruptly, staring at her ladyship with vacant eyes. All present held their breath, disturbed by this sight. We waited for the Lord Captain to speak. Her ladyship Angelina Reed von Valencius. Demanded a report of the defective unit's status from the technomats. The technomat's long-winded and detailed report could have been summarized in a single key point. Despite the servitors' abnormal behavior, they were still quite capable of carrying out tasks, and therefore the circumstances did not call for their termination. Took several steps towards the servitors. Immediately the servitors, each and every one of them, stepped towards the Lord Captain in perfect unison. They mimicked her movement with frightening precision. The rogue trader halted in place and, after a moment's thought, waved a hand, and the servitors, just as synchronously, repeated the gesture as well. When the Lord Captain turned quizzically to the technomats, so did the servitors, as if mocking her. Or as if not necessarily mocking. Mimicking, definitely. Whatever the Lord Captain did, be it an incline of the head, a wave of the hand, or a step to the side, the defective units repeated it without a moment's delay or hesitation, like grotesque marionettes controlled by an unseen puppeteer. We observed this mime unfold in distressed bafflement for nearly a minute until the servitors came to a stop, not sensing any threat from the road trader approached them with confidence. Let's examine them. As the High Factotum, it was I who prompted the entire inspection, and thus it was my duty to follow the Lord Captain. As we stepped closer, we noticed a fascinating irregularity. The servitors' pupils, normally still, were shaking wildly. Their bulging veins were pulsing under the copper collars inscribed with their past offences. It was as if those mindless half-machines were locked in a perpetual state of extreme tension. A visibly shaken technomat behind us proposed that the human souls had awakened within the servitor's body, after long slumber within their lobotomized brains. Formerly bereft of intelligence, they had attained awareness, feeling, and understanding. After a pause, the technomat added that the servitors used to function properly, and that no one had been able to explain the change in their behavior. Her gaze still trained on the motionless but animate half-machines and half-people. The Lord Captain. I'd like to do heretical, but I'm a role player and I don't see Angelina Reed using the weapon that was used against her that way. No, she'd be trying to approach this logically. So, of the two options, stepped away from the servitors. Ordered that one of the servitors be disassembled and its components investigated. A group of technomats hurried to act upon the Lord Captain's command. The servitor's mechanical parts separated with clicks, snaps, and hisses. The sutures between its wrinkled pale flesh and its augments were laid disgustingly bare. We watched the technomats do their work and could see every centimetre of the servitor's stiff muscles, abounding with valves and cavities pierced by countless cords and tubes. The disassembly and analysis complete, the technomats concurred. The unit was in working order. Nothing in the dissected body that lay before us could provide any insight into the reason behind the defects. I should make note of one more thing. At that moment, all of us present discovered that not just the eyes, but the hands and heads of some of the servitors were now shaking too. It was as if the mechanized servants were overcome with some primordial terror. They're afraid I'm going to kill them. All present held their turned to me and announced their decision. Her ladyship looked at me with unwavering resolve. It was that confidence that wrenched me out of the nightmarish stupor that had me tensely observing the scene folding before me. The Lord Captain gave the order. To dispose of the servitors so their human souls could be released from torment. No. That's the nice and pretty way, and that's not Angelina. To send the servitors back to toil as they had before, for they had not yet paid their dues for the crimes of their past lives, and thus did not deserve clemency. It's not really something I care that much about, though they would be useful, so that's possible. To destroy the servitors for what was happening to them, I don't care. To leave the servitors to their work, for there was nothing in their behaviour the Lord Captain found alarming. Yeah, intriguing, not alarming. On the Lord Captain's orders, the servitors were returned to the same decks where they had worked before. The crew was initially unnerved by their presence, but adapted to their work soon enough. Especially since, following the incident in question, there was a noticeable reduction in the servitors' strange behaviour. With the fate of the defective servitors decided, nothing could now distract the Lord Captain from her mission. Intriguing. Slightly they have gained some kind of, I don't know if it's sentience, awareness, but also an almost slave-like mentality, completely following. Right, I guess we go make contact now. Now, Rickon Minoris. Boxmaster Vigdis. Lord Captain, sorry to disturb you. Vigdis paused as if listening to something. It's pandemonium outside the bridge gate, and one of the officers seems to be demanding an audience with you in person. I think I hear Master Wissarian's voice. In any case, I want to warn you in advance. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? What does Wissarian want? The everyday sounds of the bridge are disrupted by voices raised in anger. Abelard's voice is loudest of all. This is not the conduct of an officer. These are the antics of a high-born brat out on the lark. Explain yourself, Lieutenant. A real event. The young woman standing before Abelard strives with all her might not to quail under the onslaught of her superior's anger. She falters, but then manages to look him in the eye and say, I apologise, sir, but I must speak to Lord Captain. Very well, Lieutenant, you may address Lord Captain, but not least because I see you've already seen fit to disturb her. Your unauthorized presence on the bridge and display of belligerence towards a higher ranking officer will be logged on your personal file without delay. Lord Captain, Lieutenant Avril Vent, requesting permission to speak. Vent falls silent, then adds rashly, on a matter of extreme importance and urgency. You may speak, but I want to hear the report, not a shouting match. Having two officers bickering in full view of the bridge is unacceptable. I'm sorry, Lord Captain. I thought the drastic times call for drastic measures, Vent exclaims hotly. This matter cannot wait. Any minute now, an assault unit will be dispatched to the lower decks on orders to crush the workers' strike by any means necessary. But I'm convinced that this step is unwarranted, and that the crisis itself was provoked by the actions of one of the senior officers. Vent is almost trembling with tension as she delivers a speech, her face extremely pale. Abelard, in no hurry to intervene, lets out a sceptical huff. Hold it, Abelard, I want to hear this. Lord Captain, I urge you to investigate the actions of Seneschal Viserion and to intervene in what's happening on the lower decks, because very soon we will have a mutiny and a massacre on our hands. Vent reels off the last words as though she knows them by heart. She has clearly been preparing to say them for some time. When she is finished, she casts an anxious glance at Abelard and at you. There's an insurrection in the making aboard my ship, and no one has informed me. I would not deem it a problem worthy of a rogue trader's attention. The lower decks, as it so happens, are in revolt. 30-some years ago, we even had a revolutionary leader rise up and dared to establish workers' rules across the entire ship. It took a month to restore order, but even 8 years later, we were still battling rumours that the hero had somehow survived his execution and was on the verge of gathering people to fight against tyranny once more. Abelard scoffs. Needless to say, the rumours were baseless. As for the current situation, we have sufficient enforcers to deal with it. But on this ship, the word of the Lord Captain carries more weight than a salvo from 100 bolters. I'm sure that if the rogue trader addresses the malcontents directly, she will quell the unrest. I dread to think what problem you will disturb the rogue trader with next. Perhaps you will ask the Lord Captain to break up brawls in the mess room. I've already given you the means to resolve the problem. You simply need to use them. Abelard, if there is a revolt on any deck, I want to know about it. A brawl in a mess room, unless it's a lot of people, can sort itself out with help from one of the guards. A revolt? I need to know this. If I may, your ladyship, sending a hit squad to crush the rebellion is a means of ignoring the problem, not resolving it. How did it start? The situation could boil over at any moment, so I'll give you this condensed version. It all began when the enforcers found a cultist amulet on the body of someone who had been killed in a drunken brawl. We reported it up the chain immediately, arranged for a cleansing rite to be performed, and opened an investigation. No heretics have been found alive, but the search has brought tensions between enforcers and workers to a head. Where does Seneschal Viserion come into all this? I shall explain, Abelard intones grimly. I beg you to hurry, time is running out. I will not hurry, since my competence is under scrutiny. I shall speak for as long as I see fit. Stop wasting time, Abelard. There is an established order to the way things are done on the ship, and one of the pillars of that system is that the rogue trader's attention is not distracted by trivial matters. A revolt is not a trivial matter in my eyes. It is the Seneschal's role to ensure that. I have always handled internal problems myself, so of course, when I received information about the cultist hiding out on the lower decks, I took the matter into my own hand. Fair. So long as I live, not one of the vermin who murdered Theodora von Valencius will find refuge in her ship. You are far too heavy-handed, Seneschal Viserion. Arrests, interrogations, mass punishments for entire sectors. It has driven the people to the brink, Vent says bitterly. She's venting. Now there is a strike on the lower decks, in Depot 4 to be precise. 3 worker clans are involved, but many more are passively supporting them. The situation could degenerate into an all-out insurrection, but when I reported my concerns, the only response I received was an order to dispatch an assault unit and crush the strike with maximum force. Abelard, what do you have to say about all this? I see no need to add anything. I acted within the remit of my authority. guided exclusively by the best interests of your protectorate and your personal safety. If you wish to confirm the rectitude of my actions for yourself, I have no objections. I should hope you don't. For my part, I urge the Lord Captain to go down to the lower decks, stop the assault unit, and speak directly to the people. You will see that they are not lying or harbouring heretics. That way you will stop the uprising before it begins. What is Depot 4? Depot 4 is one of the poorest sectors in the lower decks. It is home to the clans of general labourers. They are not as valuable to the ship as the families who have served in specialised systems for generations. They are an easily replaceable resource, and one which is now more besides, giving succour to cultists and minions of the arch-enemy. Depot 4 is poor and troubled, but at worst that means drunken fights and illegal rock-up brewing. We have handled the workers of Depot 4 in the past. We should have done so again if the crackdown on Depot 4 hadn't been so hard. And another important point to bear in mind, the problem is not limited to this sector. It is located on one of the most populated lower decks, and everything that happens there has a knock-on effect on all the neighbouring sectors. That's me going down. Certain seneschal was acting within its authority. This matter is not worth a rogue trader's time. No. As dictatorial groups in governments have found, yes, you can suppress the masses right until the point where you can't. And we need a well-functioning ship. I've heard enough. I'll go down to the lower decks and deal with the problem personally. Where's the Emperor? Vent cannot contain the relief. Thank you, Lord Captain. Abelard criticised an enterprise bordering on the sophomoric. But please, you're criticising me now? But please yourself, Lord Captain. However, I categorically insist I escort you. Interesting. See what's happening. We may have to fight them, but if we can parley and work things through, we shall. Within reason. Hey, Sicilian, take that scum. Take that, scum. Yeah, is this what you caused by trying to control things? Abelard reflexively wipes the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture and telling one. A rare moment where he allows his age and weariness to show through his armour, like veneer of self-assurance. The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes I dearly regret we cannot replace all the locals with servitors. Let's keep moving. We have to get to the bottom of this. What's this? Greetings, your graces. Sometimes... something resembling a nest made out of thermal insulation material. That's where the workers sleep between shifts. Fair enough.
Know your duty.
Wow,
I still do not see our purpose in coming here.
Don't you?
Relax,
Well, that's your problem.
old man. Going for a stroll on the lower decks every once in a while is good for you. Lets you see how the simple folk live.
The sound of heated discussion reverberates through the ship's bay. Lieutenant Avril Vens of the ship's enforcers is barring the path of a heavily built assault unit officer, and judging by their expressions and tone, the standoff has dragged on for some time and has now reached boiling point. I have my orders to put an end to the unrest and purge this sector. You can take your orders and shove them. This is my deck and my sector. There are only 3 people who can waltz in here without my express permission. The first officer, the rogue trader, and the Emperor himself. So not all of my lessons fall on deaf ears, Ablad mutters in crabby approval. He does not clarify whether it is Lieutenant Vent, the officer looming over her, or both. Your ladyship, noticing you, the two junior officers snap to attention and salute their subordinates, following suit a moment later. What's the situation? Your ladyship, my people have locked down the bay where the strikers are, including their leaders. We have the situation under control as far as resources allow. It was outrageous, but their behaviour. But there's a reason for it. I need to know what it is. I want to speak to the strikers. Abelard's mouth twists, but it restrains himself and nods and says nothing. Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck. Hope gleams in Lieutenant Vent's eyes.
Let the faith guide my path to glory.
Now this is... Won't stand for it anymore. A dozen pair of eyes stared apprehensively at you. The people before you are typical inhabitants of the lower decks. You take in their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying levels of mutation, from barely discernible to the strange to the outright grotesque. Our children are freezing, we've done nothing wrong, and we're being punished. For Depot 4. A whisper passes through the crowd, and you detect a mixture of fear, astonishment, and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from the crowd, an elderly woman and 2 men. These must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you. Lord Captain, you've come down to us. Tell me what's troubling you. Why are you striking? Striking? That's news to us, your ladyship, says a tall, thin man in worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think. Shut up, rivet, snaps the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you. Here's the deal, your ladyship. Your damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they're looking for cultists. One wrong word and they're reaching for their batons. If they want to punish someone, they turn off the heating to the whole base for a week at a time so we get sick and freeze. In my clan, 2 little ones died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers. The old woman spits on the floor and rubs at the spittle with a toe of her worn-out shoe. Yeah, this doesn't make me feel any more comfortable with the rules of the Emperor of Man, the God Emperor. Argenta does not interrupt the workers, but you see sadness well in her eyes when the children's deaths are mentioned. She quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. Yeah, that'll do a lot of good, won't it? It's all true. Vent is the only enforcer officer who stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks and who grew up, made ships, and has no fellow feelings towards us. The grim man with the scarred face throws up his arms. Your ladyship, we're no villains here. We're honest workers. Your servants. We've plotted no disorder. We went on strike openly. And now we've got guns pointing at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace without being harassed. You've spoken, and let Abelard speak. Abelard, do you have anything to add? I authorise the use of all necessary measures to locate Chaos Worshippers hiding in the sector. The specific steps taken by your officers were not reported to me, Abelard frowns, clearly disgruntled to having to explain himself in the workers' presence. Nevertheless, I am certain that their actions were justified. Why? You don't know what they did. Cultists are no drunken stevedores. They are the enemy and a threat to the ship. Neutralising them demands decisive action. Persecution sounded apropos of nothing, you say? I've just been told one of you was found in the possession of a cultist amulet, and there are heretics hiding here. A cultist amulet? What's that? There you go. They found on the dead drunkard. If it was something evil or forbidden, we sure didn't know. The enforcers just said they were looking for heretics among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. But how could there be heretics here? We know our own people. There'd be no new faces around. Definitely not. And if there were, we'd be the first to report them. And as for this amulet, or whatever it is, they took it off a dead body. There are no cultists still breathing in our sector, that's for sure. But when that fight broke out, some enterprising folks looted the bodies. The boots they came back with. Nobody's ever tread those decks in boots so fine. I can tell you that. Seems to me these cultists are better commanders than us. Seems to me they mixed with the wrong people, got their hiding, and you took their stuff. Oh yeah, those boots were really fine. And there was no harm in taking them, right? As for the amulet, it must have been pocketed by someone who didn't know any better. Why would they know any better? We don't need any amulets around here. We all worship the Emperor. And I don't like that, but that's okay. And when we're working, we bow down to the machine spirits of the large and small transformers and the servo motor. Understandable. The same way my grandfather was taught 100 years ago by a tech priest who came calling. Believe us, your ladyship, we are people of faith. Naive children. Weren't you taught from an early age about the danger of the archenemy's creations? Weren't you warned that any unfamiliar object could be one of them? We were told, Holy Sister, but it was long ago. The last time we saw a confessor in our sector, it was just after I'd had my third little one. That is regrettable. But you cannot lay the burden of leading a righteous life on the shoulders of the Holy Fathers. Who will you blame when the beasts crawl out of these amulets you stole from the heretics? The Holy Father was not there. Or the scavenger... the Holy Father was not there. Or the scavenger who brought evil down on himself and his neighbours. We were attacked on the way here. How do you explain that? I am going to challenge them with that. Here's an explanation for you. The people have been pushed to their limit, and now they're lashing out, as if we don't have enough. As if we don't know why these top deck units are being sent down here, like that one, there, that the lieutenant won't let past. Our clans are all inside the bay that's been sealed off, but the lower decks are big. I'm sure there are some people who had just about enough. We're getting it all from all sides. The soldiers have been circled, the ones who've risen up. A death squad has just arrived. It's no wonder folks are lashing out. Corner an animal, it'll bite in fear. And that's even an animal. Their words seem sincere to you. Their body language and glances traded between them reveal that the news of the attack has shocked them. What changes do you want? Would you look at this? The exalted Lord Captain herself is asking us build rats what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your damned enforcers to quit turning off the heat and stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want the enforcers gone from here. And we want to be armed. Give us arms and we'll govern ourselves. We'll defend ourselves if these cultists do show their faces. I've been leader of my clan for 20 years now. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here. You've gone too far, old man. They'll never let the maggots on the lower decks live without the enforcers breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on enforcers on the upper decks too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day's out, we'll have someone shooting their neighbour out of stupidity or drunkenness. We don't need that. If the enforcers stop hassling us, that'll be enough in return. We'll find the scavengers who robbed the cultist body, and we'll talk to them, one lower deck to another. If there are any more of those damned amulets about, we'll hand them over to the enforcers ourselves. You speak for yourself and your clan, and I'll speak for me and mine. I don't want any empty gestures. I want real change. They'll promise us the world now, but as soon as the Anointed One turns her back, these brutes will be on us even harder than before. All because we dared to speak out. Sounds like that's justified fear. The tall worker's eyes dart between the two arguing leaders. Every few seconds he opens his mouth, as if planning to agree, but each time he falls silent, making a few vague noises of approval. So he thought Abelard. He is a trusted ally, but he's mishandling this. Coercion 40. What's the chance of success there? 100%. Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons into untrained hands could be even worse. What's more, the enforcer needed to make... That's not changing a thing. Give the order for the enforcer to be withdrawn from this sector, and you'll be given weapons. Let's see how you cope governing yourselves, and what difference it makes. Fail to convince me of your trustworthiness. This unrest ends now. Everyone who's involved will be eliminated. No! I do think there's wisdom in this. But the actions need to be restrained. It's not wrong to have a police force, but the actions need to be restrained. What I would like is a service, what do they call them? The enforcers here to be under the control, perhaps, of a Vrilla. And a Vrilla to work as a go-between between me and the leaders here. This is not Ablaj doing this. Is not something he should be doing. See what he has to say, though. Story about going scavenging for boots and accidentally picking up heretical amulet doesn't convince me. These people were mere moments away from rebelling and possibly becoming minions for the archenemy. We must not give them what they want. Even if they did acquire something innocently, purely out of their own stupidity, that does not mean they are not tainted with corruption. Oh dear God, I'm losing faith in him. What begins as petty thievery can turn into a far graver problem. I've seen it before. Ablad's face darkens momentarily. In my second war, there was a sergeant of the Imperial Guard regiment that was stationed nearby. The sergeant took an ordinary pocket knife from the body of a heretic, and his whole unit lost their lives for it. When they were finally managed to break into the barracks, they found not a single survivor. Only the pocket knife, which had grown through all the rows of the beds like a metal choking vine. So when it comes to scavengers, malcontent, strikers, or whatever they'll turn into next, my verdict is simple. Give them no quarter. No, you're a brute. You're being a brute in this case. As I said, you can suppress the rabble. The lower parts of society. Lower ranks of society, I should say. Because it's not that they are actually lower, it's that they're ranked lower. But right until the point where you can't, so we're reaching the point where we can't. Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons into untrained hands would be even worse. Tomorrow the enforcer needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw those demands and we'll consider the rest. Tall worker they call Rivet shrugs and casts a sidelong look at the woman. Old Nan, listen, the Lord Captain himself has come down to us and is offering concessions. And I don't know a single person in the whole of Depot 4 who's ever stood next to the rogue trader, let alone talk to them. Back down! Now's no time for you to be stubborn old crone. Listen to us, Nan. Old Nan. The 3 clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made our minds up. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband the enforcers or give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You two are ganging up on me, is that it? So brave you are against an old woman. But I'll shut up. I will, indeed. I won't go against the 2 clan leaders on my own. If you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your own peace. That's great. That's fantastic. Lord Captain, we all agreed. Then it's decided. The persecution will stop now. We'll expect you to assist in locating any remaining amulets or weapons left by the cultists. Your ladyship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. I'll tell my grandchildren about this. Of course, your ladyship will root out any nasty business faster than the enforcers. We'll leave no one stone unturned. Complete bedlam, are you satisfied, Lord Captain? But may I suggest we leave? You may. It is not bedlam. What you were creating was bedlam, you fool. Actually, I don't even like the term. I know where it originates, that's why. Stopping unexpectedly, Abelard imperiously dismisses the unit to stand at a distance and address your other companion, saying, I have an urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Please give us a moment. Abelard looks at you and his last vestige of restraint vanish. Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtowed to the disloyal rabble. You believed their lies and showed them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by cultists, that rabble will welcome them in with open arms and allow them to wreak whatever havoc they like, because they see you as a weak leader. Is this how your future at the helm of the Von Valencia's Protectorate will go? I want to rip him a new one. But do not speak to your Lord Captain in that tone. I'm obliged to speak thus. What else can point out your... who else can point out your errors and offer you counsel? Okay, let's talk about your role in all this instead. You allowed this revolt to happen. Your actions practically guaranteed it would. I would have handled the situation myself had you not decided to intervene, Abelard says irascibly. Remember, Lord Captain Theodora, do you think she ever set one slippered foot on the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers, while she dedicated herself to her grand designs for the Protectorate, as any true strategist and rogue trader ought. I like number one. Maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There's a new captain aboard on this ship now. I'll not repeat your mistake. I'd be only too willing to trust in my seneschal and not fill my head with such matters, but the situation has spiraled out of your control. Give me a reason why I should continue listening to your advice and trusting your judgment. Right now I don't see any. Not number two. Because I feel like I need to take a stronger role in things here. He's not good at this. But I don't want to sit outright and say I don't want to listen to him. He's a good advisor. He's good at some things. He's a voice worth listening to, but maybe if Theodora had spent more time on I have no loyalty to Theodora. I will never get over the idea that essentially I was kidnapped. Maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There's a new Lord Captain aboard this ship now, and I will not repeat a mistake. Abelard looks at you stunned and exhales loudly, then he nods curtly. I commend your decisiveness, but I am uncomfortable with introducing new protocols in the midst of a crisis. And Abelard stands at straight attention. I lost my temper, Lord Captain, and I believe I ought to explain myself. Abelard speaks slowly, the words not coming easily to him. The prosperity of the Von Valencia's Protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for the chance to see it flourish. It was the most momentous decision of my life, and I did it because I saw in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture new worlds. They create order out of anarchy. That creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. So I left behind everything I had known and everything my family had known. I come from a long line of officers, and I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all concerns she had no time for. She would go off on her flagship for long periods to distant frontiers, on scouting voyages, and the advancement of the entire Protectorate rested on my shoulders. And then suddenly everything that had been built over the years and years began to quake, rattling like a flimsy hanger on a seismically active world. One of the senior officers betrayed us all. The rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on the planets. I tell you this honestly, without fear of appearing weak. All this has come as a grievous blow to me. I am not panicking or grieving because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I am duty-bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you, to find your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out in the ship's regulations. Procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades cannot suddenly be deemed excess to requirements. Theodora trusted in established procedures and she died. I won't make the same mistake. If you want to keep building in the future of Von Valencia's protectorate with me, stop living in the past. I understand, but you need to learn and respect me as your new Lord Captain and Rogue Trader. Accept it and start living in the new world. A world where Theodore is gone and where you and I have new decisions to make. That I like more. The prosperity of Von Valencia's protectorate is just important to me. You are the only person who has comprehensive knowledge of how things run on this ship. Think of the future. No. I value what Theodora created, and I trust this situation is an aberration in the ship's otherwise smooth operation. Since the established procedure work, no. You don't follow the past just because it's been done in the past. You follow what works in the past and build on what doesn't. Or improve what doesn't. There's been plenty of sentiment and hand-wringing in recent days, but very little competence. I have no plans to rely on your judgment or your tried and tested procedures. No. Yeah, number 2, I understand. You need to learn to respect me as your Lord Captain and Rogue Trader. Accept it and start living in the new world. A world where Theodore is gone and where you and I must make new decisions. Abelard solemnly inclines his head. Yes, Lord Captain. After a moment's silence, he adds, looking at you with interest. Your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment should my old habits ever begin to creep back in. It's not easy to change, and he's been living under the idea of tradition for way too long to change easily. And now please let us leave the lower decks. If the Rogue Trader desires to stretch your legs, there are far more suitable places.
We are bound by the blood of martyrs.
I like that decision. A captain, a leader, who will talk to you. Not give in to your every demand, but hear you out. That's a positive. Not hear every little thing. I would like to be able to set it up so Avrilla takes a more active role in communicating between them and us, since they like Avrilla and she's seen that we're willing to work with them. Alright. But I don't see that as a possibility. As the ship makes its way through the star system, a strange fatigue falls over you. Your eyes grow heavy, and the quill you have been using to draw up yet another order falls from your hand. You raise your head with a start. Someone else is here, in your study. You stand up and stare at dozens upon dozens of corpses surrounding you. Among their number you recognize the disfigured and bloodied faces of those who died on the ship's bridge, and those you met in your previous life. How is this possible? Where are the enforcers posted to stand guard? It matters not, you are alone against a horde of heretics, risen from the darkness to take your life. As if of its own accord, the shard lying on the edge of the desk, the sole remnant of Conrad Vorkvar's weapon, slips into your hand. The metal is searing cold, the dead sway from side to side, closing in around you, in a nightmarish slow way. Kneel before the Rogue Trader, your lives belong to me. All you hear in response is unintelligible voices. Whispers, moans and derisive laughter. Anger ignites in your chest and you catch the shard which ravenously bites into your palm with its sharp edge. An unbearably bright light floods everything around you, and you find yourself surrounded by grovelling minions, their bodies shivering in the mere presence. Your hands no longer hold a pitiful shard, but a majestic and intricate weapon, a skillfully crafted sword with strange, unnerving proportions, a curved design, an unusual hilt, adorned with the image of a closed eye. The eye opens wide, revealing a gaze so ancient and dark that it steals your breath away. You have felt this gaze before, there on the bridge, and the voice that appears in your mind confirms your guess. The tapestry is woven. The path is clear. Accept your fate, champion. I am the sword's master, not its servant. Remember that. You feel the sword's immense weight pulling you down. You resist its will for a moment longer before collapsing on the ground to the sound of odious laughter. The strain is such that you fear your back could break at any moment. Vogue, the first dawn, is hereby woven into the tapestry of your fate. Seek the second dawn in the hands of she who rises above its future dominion. The former aspirant fell, and thus the new one will become the chosen of the Weaver of Destinies. Make mortals serve you as their god, and become the vessel of the edge. You awaken from the vision, kneeling next to your desk, clothes drenched in sweat, with a sour taste on your tongue. Your head is ringing, and you struggle to recall those faces, and the image of the sword in your hands. Only the deep cut on your palm and the bloody shard lying on the floor remind you of what just transpired. In this case, I have to go heretical. I have to pick up that shard because I would be too curious not to. You reach your shaking hand out to the shard, now slippery with your blood. You wipe its metallic surface and stash your treasure under your clothes, next to your heart and soul, forever seared by the great power of the warp. The light glinting off the polished skull of some unknown Xenos makes it seem like the bony face is mocking. Alright. Where am I going? Cracked data slate. Binary. The final transactions with the chartist are complete. The fiery reckoning is now fully equipped. The object has been loaded with a board with its containment intact and placed in the forebay to ensure maximum contact with the target. Coordinates sent and received by the brig. Target estimate time of arrival in the system. Fiery reckoning and its crew. Is crewed by a servitor hive. Chance of the ship returning are minimal. Interesting. And this one. His shagging is irrelevant. Vatvia's mistakes cost me too much. Years of work, tremendous resources all wasted. He has failed at what he was supposed to be irreproachable at. Uncovering spies, and this one was a senior officer. I am not about to discard him. Conrad has served me for too long for his removal to go painlessly for the Protectorate. Besides, he's no fool. He could not have seriously expected to become the next in the Von Valentius line when his skills and talents as master of whispers are so valuable. Let his disinheritance serve as a humiliating but instructive lesson. Yeah, didn't go too well, did it? Beyond the stained glass, the distant stars glimmer in the darkness of endless space, filling you with an odd sense of dread. Right, and now we're off. We've got a starport. I'll extract him. Guess we're heading to the starport then. Time to add another level as well. Well, this doesn't look good, does it? The starport greets you with a din of ordnance, and the smell of explosives tickles your nostrils. It's difficult to tell through the smoke who is firing at whom. Halt! Weapons on the ground or I'm firing! A man in a torn and dirty uniform hobbles towards you. From behind the chunks of rockcrete, crumbling plasteel. His cracked helmet is adorned with a crooked label that reads Sergeant Malgar. Alright, so our skies are in lockdown. The rebels are shooting down anything that flies. And you lot just happened to land on our rear without a scratch show for it. On a shuttle like that. Where'd you get it? Stolen from the palace, isn't it? He's visibly awed by the resplendent gold of your transport. Grab 'em, lads! But I told the rebel landing force. Abelard turns pale. By the Holy Throne, what is this mess? Adira glances down. They are in a tough spot, old man. Go easy on them. You're mistaken. I'm road trader of the House of Von Valencius. The soldier grows more and more pale with every word you say. As soon as you're done speaking, he falls to his knees. My mistake, your ladyship. Didn't recognise you. Please, pardon my blunder. It's a bloodbath in here. A frag grenade explosion cuts off the rest of the sergeant's word. Shrapnel flies everywhere with a piercing screech. One of the soldiers falls to the ground, clutching the remains of his forearm that is now adorned with crimson tatters. Blood is pouring out the stump, and the soldier's agony is short-lived. The sergeant curses and hastily says an army prayer for the dead. With a rasping cough, the sergeant turns back to you. Pardon me, ma'am. Sergeant Las Malgar reporting. My unit is holding the starport on the governor's orders. How may I serve? What's going on here? Unrest, ma'am. Armed rebellions in both the capital and provinces. First the lower level sparked, then it went up the spires. They hit the Vox hubs, the arsenals, the mag train stations. My unit was here when it all went to the Groxers. The tech priests linked to satellites reported sightings of strange void ships in the system. They were orbiting the star until one of them set course for landing on Ricard Majoris. The governor took precautionary measures and ordered to increase security at the key facilities. Everyone knows that whenever something's not right, you better double the warden detail. The alarm was raised, and we were sent to secure the starport. It's the only reason we were able to hold on to it. They're crushing us. The late arriving record, oh dear. The scumbags. It's been a whole turn since the last reinforcements came in. We're running low on ammo. Every other fighter is wounded. I don't know how bad it is in the streets, but they'll drive us out of here in a minute. Who are you, anyway? Sergeant Las Malgar, ma'am, 11th generation loyal soldier of House Winterscale. Awarded 3 commendations for faultless service. Ever since the olden days, his lordship, the rogue trader, has recruited soldiers and shipwrights on Ricard Minoris, so there is no greater honour for a Ricadian than serving his lordship with diligence. What caused the rebellion? Ill thoughts, ma'am. We've fallen on hard times. The ground keeps shaking. Things keep exploding. The people are scared. They've forgotten all their duty. And that's when those Emperor, forgive me, preachers came. They started riling everyone up. Sure enough, we got a few. But they just keep coming, more and more of them. How can some pathetic rebellion be enough? Yeah, that's what I said. When you can no longer hold the people, you can't hold them. I cannot leave you and your people without aid. Reinforcements will be sent from my ship. I live to serve. The sergeant is so astonished that he only barks out the mandated words of gratitude after a non-mandated lengthy pause. We won't fail. We won't. We'll be praying to the Emperor for your ladyship, ma'am. Do you know if a member of the Inquisition has come here? At the word Inquisition, the sergeant's face fills with awe. Oh, no, ma'am. There definitely haven't been any visitors like that on my watch. You might have to inquire at the headquarters, your ladyship, ma'am. Some dirty dog shut down my shuttle. Affirmative, your ladyship, ma'am. I thought you said it was without a scratch. It's all those damn rebels. Those maggots somewhere got their hands on an anti-aircraft battery. It's causing our shuttles no end of problems. That thing really packs a punch. You're lucky they missed you. Oh, shot at, not shot down. I've seen them fry 2 shuttles carrying reinforcements. Not a soul survived. I'm going to see the governor. By my report, ma'am, as long as the rebels keep shooting their damned anti-aircraft battery, there's absolutely no way to shuttle you to the governor. It should have been on foot. It would have to be on foot. The streets are dangerous. I have no one to send with you as an escort. I assigned all available troops to accompany the esteemed tech priest to the governor. I will voxcast orders to them to wait for you, and I'll inform headquarters they'd better send out a convoy to meet you halfway. Meanwhile, we will follow the governor's orders and hold the line here. Adira frowns, her gaze grows distant, as if she is looking through the sergeant. You're a good soldier, but you've had a lot of blood on your hands, both yours and others. You know, the same hand that salutes now might falter in darkness. Rank and efflots won't save you from the bitterness. Pardon me, my lady, but I can't get my head round those fancy words you're saying. I've seen plenty of blood, but trust me, I'll fight till my last drop. What tech priest? A very important person from the Adeptus Mechanicus arrived on the planet on the last shuttle before they locked down the sky. He kept on asking whether anyone by the name of Armaments or Amaranet or something like that had recently arrived. Barely answered any of our questions, though. Said he was under no obligation to tell us anything. He demanded to talk to the governor personally, so I had to send a quarter of my troops with him to keep trouble at bay. Is the path ahead dangerous? What exactly awaits me? The sergeant sighs heavily. All of the roadblocks are gone. The whole place is in the rebels' hands. The city is almost lost, so no help will come. You were late arriving. We were surrounded by rebels, and what you said, ma'am, the streets are chock full of mines. Logic test succeeded. This remark about mines lodges itself in your memory. More than anything, you will need to watch the ground and not your surroundings. You'd rather risk a shot from a rebel than a jittery soldier, than experience a few handfuls of lethal frag resting on top of some 300 grams of explosive vital seed. You're a good soldier, Mulga. So you're ahead of is misnoted. Sergeant blushes slightly. I live to serve. Another explosion interrupts the sergeant's words. With a sigh of relief, he turns his soldiers and spits out a booming series of commands. Rumours. On your travels you will hear many rumours. Those of them that are deserving of the rogue trader's attention are logged in a separate section of the journal. Sometimes rumours are just that. Other times there's truth to them, and in some cases there may even be more. To verify a rumour, travel to the place indicated in the rumour's description. While traversing the Coronis Expanse, as the rogue trader, you are bound to hear rumours regarding your own deeds and exploits, some of which reflect the reaction of the Expanse's denizens to choices you've made. Right, let's see what we've got on rumours. Warden of the Expanse, Lord Inquisitor Xavier Calcazar is a powerful and mysterious figure who plays a pivotal role in the fate of the Coronis Expanse. His power is so great that it extends even over other rogue traders. Unidentified void ship. According to the satellites, one of the unidentified void ships circling the nearby star has landed on a large uninhabited world in the system. Alright, let's promote. Joint analysis. Or precise attack. For the next attack against a target affected by an exploit, that target's cover efficiency will be reduced. Useful. The operative's next non-area attack inflicts the intimidated effect on the first target hit by the attack and all enemies in a 5-cell radius. Damage dealt by intimidated enemies is reduced. The negative effect is doubled for enemies with less than the armor. Perfect spot. While in cover, the operative gains 25% cover efficiency. Okay. Tactical knowledge. I've got no Medicaid. So if we do this, she can do medicine. Or logic. Coercion is down, why? Tech use. Oh, we can do one of these. Doing my part. Ignore the character in the current party as the same archetype. First archetype ability used. No known heresy. Imperial World characters gain plus 10 critical hit chance and plus 10. Their allies gain half the bonus. Yeah. An Imperial World character is affected by an ally's non-damaging ability, or affects an ally with such an ability. Their resolve is increased by FEL bonus over 2 for 1 round. Or stronger together. All allies in the current party gain plus 5 the same characteristic, so it's chosen for humanity's finest. I don't know what we chose. We'll take that. All allies affected by brace gain plus 30 cover penetration. Eventually, maybe we'll take that. Or bolding. Creates an area that lasts until the start of the cycle next turn. All allies gain an increase of dodge. Or prescience. Character gains intense willpower until the end of combat. Oh, we've got dominate. Target must pass a willpower resistance test on their next turn, or they will spend all their movement points to move as close as possible towards the psyker. Yeah, I don't really want them doing that. Target fails, they become blinded and suffer an additional to all characteristics reduced by blindness, and must make willpower at the end of each turn. First success makes them just blinded, and the second removes it. Biomancy can heal wounds and alter physical characteristics. That could be useful. Gonna have her gain awareness. That's apparently locked. Agility's wanted. Fine. Melee, flame, and melter attacks against demons and psychers deal additional. Litany of Purification. All enemies in the area of effect of Warhammer Furious Recital gain a 1 stack of Disturbed effect. Enemies that are adjacent to the devotee get +2 stacks of Disturbed instead. Got Shield of Faith. Go on. Okay.
May his light harden our hearts. New trials await us in this place.
It's going from bad to worse. I expected a typical dull reception with the governor. Not more carnage.
Let us walk this path to the end.
Something over there. What's this? The ground viaduct for receiving esteemed guests is on rubble. Yeah, I can see that. The pilot, dressed in a crumpled uniform adorned with the Von Valencia's coat of arms, still looks quite pale. Her white hands bear red marks left by the wheel. The scream of terror she let out when the missile flew right past your shuttle is etched in your memory. Her voice quivers slightly, but even her fear cannot stop her from using typical Voidsman jargon. That was some flight, your ladyship. If we'd been a little less lucky, we were checking in at the port in the sky right now. What's that weapon they fired at us? Can't say I know, your ladyship, but the shots it fired certainly quite fly quick. Never seen guns like that before. And they were firing from far away, almost from beyond the bar, the horizon, that is. Who gave those jobs a terrifying contraption like that? Your name, pilot. My bad day, your ladyship. Senior flyer, senior pilot Nimas, appointed by the senior deck officer to be your personal shuttle. To serve on your personal shuttle. Well, we can't leave at the moment, we know that. There's a guard there. Loot there, it seems. You won't be needing that, will you?
The impure cannot escape their fate!
Show them no mercy!
Right. Where are we going to go? Oh, we can't prepare for battle.
Here we go!
Pain and duty go hand in hand.
There is movement in the Empyrean. That is not my destiny. Was that indeed anything else?
Put it on the wrong one, didn't I? Oh no, I put it on him.
But of course.
Hold on!
Here, maggot! Time me what you've got! Someone.
Faith without deeds is worthless. I will bathe this battlefield in righteous fury. Doubt is for the weak. I'll do it. As the Emperor commands, I act.
Rejoice in service. And so shall it be done. Rejoice in service.
Out of my way!
Alright.
Let's get to it. Let's make it quick.
Let's get to it.
Victory is imminent. Tried and tested tactics are the best ones. At your beck and call.
That had better be ineptitude, not malice.
Well, get out of the bloody way, you daft bugger. Alright,
Scared yet?
we're gonna die anyway.
Here we go. Hold on.
Ow. Right, Idira. Can't see then.
Anything else? What an unfortunate turn of fate.
Yeah, well, she shouldn't be there. Honestly. Oh, down.
My prescience has failed me.
I need you.
Well,
Your sacrifice won't be in vain.
sod.
And so shall it be done. Actions will speak another step towards our ultimate victory.
Let's get to it.
Scared yet?
It will be done. I took care of this one.
Let's make it quick. Here we go.
Why did I not foresee this?
Shit.
They who discern the future on the battlefield. On it.
Hold on.
Show me what you've got.
Rodinora. Angelina Reed. We have no cover.
Let my enemies tremble at the sound of my steps. Rejoice in service. I will not be deterred. The Emperor commands. And so, let this be the warning
Oh,
to
damn.
all who oppose us.
High momentum.
I've seen worse battles than this in my time. This wound will make a fine scar.
Thank you.
Follow my lead. At your beck and call.
Out of my way.
That's something worse.
All right, so
Was a beacon?
It'd have been better to go there. I didn't see them. So.
Someone. Let's get to it. Rejoice in service. And so shall it be done.
They're down.
I will do my duty.
I know what is to come.
Oh. And you need to get there, don't you? Let's see if that'll work.
Not this Scryer's job.
Oh, it's 3 action points.
Anything else? Will do.
Let's make it quick.
My enemies shall be crushed like dust beneath my feet. Rejoice in service. I can't allow myself to do this.
Too far away.
At your beck and call.
Well, that hit the ship.
Cover me! Anything else?
That's 1 down. 2 down. And that should be all of them back up. And what does she have here? This creature's strength and toughness are reduced by -20, action points reduced by 1. Not ideal.
The divine watches over us.
I mean, we can't even get back to the ship right now, so...
With each step, I forge my destiny among the stars.
Right, what do we have here? Useless. 10 to 15. That shotgun might be better than some things we're carrying. Yes. Not better than the sniper rifle I have. Shock baton 6 to 11. Beats the sword 6 to 9. That's actually better armor penetration though. Better top end, lower bottom end, that's the problem. I don't think I want to give it to him. Better than your knife there. These carapace is light. You wear medium. Now you're wearing heavy. Hang on. Now, I'm wearing medium. My chainmail is better than that. Okay.
We shall reclaim what is rightfully ours.
This madman got to say, "Eyes, my eyes, have you got them? Please give them back." Oh dear. There's a rebel up there. Let's go this way first.
Accomplished.
Written on the side of the shuttle in pilot slowly. I didn't see what it said. We'll get all them.
Know your duty.
Goods here. Now, what is that one? Increase the range of officer archetype abilities by 1. Aren't you an officer archetype? I'm not actually sure. It must say somewhere. I don't think she is. She's a soldier, isn't she? So I think he must be an officer. Wait, he's a warrior. He's a warrior. Operative. Operative. Soldier. Going on, folks? How about you don't come any close? Oh, what the hell? Why did we shoot? Okay. The young shaggy-haired soldier is still pale. Nonetheless, as you approach, he holsters his pistol, the hallmark of good discipline. He gives you a somewhat frightened but genuine smile. Thank you, my lady. You arrived in the nick of time. I don't know what those babbling creeps wanted with me, but it definitely wasn't anything good. Who are you? Lucky Jasper, the governor's aide and personal box operator. I was dispatched to the starport on special orders, the young man proclaims, desperately trying to tame his tousled air. Are you unharmed, soldier? All thanks to you, my lady. Those blind lunatics are all over the city right now. These rebels, damn them to the void, go around maiming anyone they can't get their hands on and scorching their eyes. Then they leave the poor sods driven mad by the pain to wander around the streets, babbling nonsense. He lowers his voice and adds with gravity, this command doesn't want anyone to talk about it. But I've heard whispers that it's not just some nonsense, it's heresy, actual heresy. Because listening to it scrambled your brains. It made one patrolman freeze in his tracks while the blind mob got hold of him and carried him from his post off to who knows where. What exactly were you doing here on your own? Following Governor Medina's special instructions, namely, he grits his teeth with pained expression, furrowing his brow. Alright, it's a secret assignment, I can't talk about it. What if what you know is priceless intelligence and you were to die before you could relay it to anyone? Well, that would make me a saboteur and traitor, wouldn't it? Yes, you're right. This is an emergency. He looks relieved. So why did they send you to the starport? I'm supposed to deliver updated Vox codes. And how should I put it? Assess the situation. The planet is in a real mess at the moment. The rebels have found their way into the Voxnet and are now eavesdropping. This made proper communication impossible. The hallowed Electrodyne Cenobium had sent out a distress call before it went dark. And who knows what's happening in the system. There's been a riot on Ricadia Philia, the prison planet. Yurak V station is silent. Although the navigators there have always been a reclusive bunch. I was hoping I'd be lucky enough to run into a pilot or captain here who could give me an update, but it's hardly a possibility right now. The rebels are blasting everything that tries to land out of the sky with their damn cannon. He stopped talking a little too abruptly. Something else you're hiding from me, isn't there? More classified secrets? Jasper looks away. It's nothing classified, just personal. There's another reason why I'm here. My betrothed is missing. Raquel Vicari, the esteemed Devane Winterscale's personal pilot. When the riot reports came from Ricadi Philia, Lord Devane headed there personally. Then this rebellion started down here and we lost communication. No one knows how they're doing up there. You know what I'm afraid of? They'll come back and those rebel scumbags will shoot them out of the sky. I want to find a place that's high up, set up a Voxcaster there, and send them a transmission. The sky is closed off. Don't try to land. But I didn't make it in time. Those blind dogs chased after me and I was running. I tripped and broke the caster. He hangs his head sadly. I worry for her. She's an excellent pilot, but I still worry. Ablad shakes his head disapprovingly, but his eyes are understanding. That is why all members of a void ship clans share the same employment. No matter how devoted a servant to the Emperor is to their duty, there is always a danger the family ties might disrupt regulations and order. No, for Raquel is alive. I met her on Ricardiphilia. Really? That's marvellous. May the Emperor protect you for 1,000 years, and then 1,000 more for bringing me such good news. He beams in elation. I'll name my firstborn after you, I swear. In fact, I'll name all my children after you. Yeah, you don't need to do that. Tell me about Yurak V. Yurak 5. There is not much anyone can tell about it. That station belongs to the Navis nobility themselves. Emperor knows what they do up there, or even who lives there. They scorn ordinary folk. The only person they're willing to grace with an audience is the esteemed Devane Winterscale. It's just beginning to sound like he's complaining. The place is creepy. They say they order shuttles with servants from Ricade Menoris on a regular basis. I guess they're too important up there to change filters and clean compartments themselves. Huh? Except I've never met anyone who was served there. It's not like it. It's like no one comes back. Well, let's get his view of this. Who is Devane Winterscale? The esteemed Honourable Scion of the blessed rogue trader Caligos Winterscale, master of the Ricard system. At the behest of his illustrious father or grandfather or uncle, well, it's his illustrious relative. Lord Vane took up residence on Ricard Menoris. Jasper's face betrays a fierce inner struggle before he lets out. You know what I think? I find it curious that blessed Caligos didn't make him the ruler of the world. Lord Vane is his blood, but it's the governor who rules us. Then why do you think he sent him here? I think he's been exiled. you think the governor can handle rebellion? Jasper mumbles evasively. Well, obviously. I'm not some pessimist, say otherwise. I won't tell anyone. You really won't? Well then, if you ask me, things are pretty rotten. His words come flying at the rate of a stab of fire. Those rebels are strange. We would have easily quelled a normal riot, but we're not some commoners. We're Acadians, the naval elite of the House Winterscale. But those people, they're vicious. They know no fear. And their attacks are so precise. It's like they know what's going to happen ahead of time. The command executed 7 officers on suspicion of espionage. But it's not about spying. They say the leader of the rebels is some two-faced Aurora who can see into the future. Now she's the real danger. Idira scoffs and rubs her hands together in excitement. She can see into the future, is that right? We'll see about that. She's up against the wrong psyker. My breezy whispers may be vague, but they've not failed me once. I can tell you without asking my ethereal friends that her future doesn't look too bright now the Lord Captain is involved. I'm looking for an interrogator of the Inquisition who may have arrived on this planet. Have you heard of anyone matching that description? Jasper's face quickly turns grey as he says, I have. But I don't know where he is now. I'm sorry, but I don't like discussing affairs with the Inquisition. Brutally maim him for this. No, we're not doing that. No more questions. It was a pleasure to be of service to you, my lady. It's been nice to chat to someone normal. He glances warily at the body of the nearest blinded lunatic. I must take my leave. You're right, we shouldn't stay here or we may run into rebels. I'll go find a safe place to watch the sky for any landing shuttles. May the Emperor protect you, my lady. And with that, honestly, it's hot, I'm sweaty, and I'm tired. I need to take my leave of you for now. I will see you next time.